Good morning, FlossTube. It's Brandy with Every Home Needs a Gnome. All right, so you guys said that you wanted me to do a stitch along or a stitch with me video, so I'm trying. My lighting is terrible. I have not yet taken a shower. Yeah, so this is just me in the raw. I've had 3 hours of sleep because, of course, because of Milo. Because dogs. So I'm going to do my best today. My lighting is terrible. The lighting in the video is terrible. My lighting to see stitching is worse. We'll see how this goes. If I post it, it went fine. If I don't, you'll never see this video. Sorry for the crinkles. Getting my stuff out, I'm going to stitch. So I'm going to work on this. Still trying to finish this project up, you guys. It is taking me forever. Winter Cometh by Summerhouse Stitchworks. It's taking me forever because life is busy. That's kind of the high and low of that. So this is where I'm at with it. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the letters. Except, well, this is problematic. I don't know where that thread went. Uh-oh. How's my first stitch along video going so far? Pretty good, huh? You guys, I don't know where that floss went. This is not good. I'm so at a loss. I'm completely lost. That's a problem. Well, I guess I'll work on the bird instead. I'm really worried though, you guys, because I don't know. I can't finish it if I don't have that floss. Well, boy howdy, isn't that a fine how do you do? Oh well, let's just stitch the bird. Put a bird on it, as they say in Portlandia. Right? That's what they say. I have not watched that show a bunch because I am Portlandian. Actually, I'm not. I'm a country girl through and through. I grew up east of Portland, so Portland has never really been my town or city. In fact, here on the mountain, I live at the kind of at the base of Mount Hood, and here on the mountain, we call Portlanders Flatlanders because every single winter they come up to the mountain to ski, and they inevitably cause wrecks and congestion problems for the highway and all those good things. So Flatlanders, it was never a good term in my growing up years. I grew up actually at I'm a thread licker. I grew up actually in a little, one could call it a resort town, even though it really wasn't. I don't know why I can't thread my needle today. But our little resort town was actually, it had a golf course, and then it started off with a hotel and some restaurants. Oofed a mug again, because you know, Milo. Anyway, so I grew up in this, just right across the street from a golf course. And so that was a lot of fun because as a kid, we used to go collect golf balls. Like every night, after the golfers would be done with their golfing day. And we would go collect all of their lost golf balls and go home and clean them. And like we would get literally like get into the ponds and the streams and stuff. And it was nasty. It was nasty water. But we'd get right in there and we'd dig out all of the lost golf balls that people had lost throughout the day. And we'd go home and we'd clean them up. And my brother actually invented like a golf ball cleaner machine. It was pretty high class. And it really sped up our process because otherwise we did it like literally with a toothbrush and soap. And we would clean those golf balls up every single night, and then we'd pack them into leftover egg cartons. And the next morning we'd go out and we'd sit out on the golf course and we'd sell golf balls to golfers. And of course they're all, rich folks because they're coming to a resort to golf. And we were literally all a bunch of country bumpkin kids. And we golfed for free because we lived there. But it was great fun. We'd sell golf balls for anywhere from free for the really bad ones that like had gashes in them or whatever, to like I think like $2 a ball, which this was back in the 80s, early to mid 80s. So $2 a ball, that was a lot. That was probably more than they paid at the pro shop, but they paid because we were cute. You guys, I've already totally messed up. I completely messed up. Goodness sakes, this does not bode well for me. Actually, it's not bad. I can actually keep these stitches. It's like I started in the wrong spot. Goodness sakes. I didn't honestly plan this. I just decided I was going to sit down and do a stitch along, or a stitch with me. And then I worried about the lighting, which is really kind of awful. I do apologize for that, but I worried about that and not so much what I was going to do for my project or how I was going to go about my project. So, oh well. So I know you can't see my stitching. I'm stitching. And I sew in hand or stitch in hand. I didn't used to. Actually, I used to stitch with a hoop exclusively. And then I had kind of a method for doing it a little bit quicker with the hoop, but it still wasn't like super quick. And then my friend Beth told me about stitching in hand. And I said, well, that sounds interesting. What is that? And she explained it to me, and I was like, that sounds great for somebody else, but I don't think that I'm ever going to be a stitch in hand kind of person. Well, look at me now. I am a stitch in hand kind of person. It goes so much faster. It goes so much faster when you're not talking. This is all very new for me. I don't even stitch with friends. I don't stitch while I'm talking to my husband. I don't talk to people when I'm stitching. I'll take my stitching to dance when Molly's got her dance classes, because I'm at the studio for sometimes like 3 or 4 hours at a time. And we're there like 3 nights a week at least. So I'll take stitching with me then. But even at that, when other dance moms come in, I usually will stop stitching in order to talk. So it's really funny because the dance moms, which is of course what we call ourselves, is the dance moms. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that show, Dance Moms. We are nothing like that. That show, I watched that a few years ago because it's just like watching the worst possible train wreck, but it's funny. because people aren't literally dying. And anyway, that show is awful. It's it kind of summarizes everything that is wrong in the performing arts. And our Dance Moms group, for the most part, I would say, kind of summarizes everything that is good and right in the performing arts. Not because we're all such great people, though I tend to think that our group is pretty great, but just because there's so much respect and just genuine love for each other. We all come from really different backgrounds and philosophies and religions or non-religions. But we all have kids that are doing this thing that they love, and we're stuck together for hours on end. Not so much anymore because our girls are getting older, and a lot of them are driving themselves to dance now. So it's not uncommon for me to be the only dance mom at the studio right now, any night of the week. But I'm having a hard time getting that stitch in. But for the most part, like when the girls were younger, and we did have a couple boys that danced at the same time too. But when the girls were younger, we would just sit around and laugh and laugh and laugh. And the way it all got started was because one of the dance teachers offered a Zumba class. He was a Zumba instructor, and he's like, "Hey, moms, do you guys want to do a Zumba class for free? Like, just for, I think it was for free. I never paid for it." Whoops. And so, of course, we were like, yes, that sounds fabulous. So it was the funniest thing because there were, it wasn't uncommon for dancers or other dance instructors to come in and join us. But then there were us moms, some of whom were like fit and in good shape and you know, like actually had some coordination. And then there were some of us, there were 3 of us in particular, that were all a little on the heavier side, and had all been coordinated athletic people in our younger years, but not so much anymore. And oh my goodness sakes, you guys, we would get out there and we would do Zumba, and it was the funniest thing. And the instructor, he's the best. He is, he's a guy that is so full of joy and just everything about him exudes happiness. And so he was so gracious with us women. He was very kind. So it was a lot of fun, and that really is what kind of broke the ice for us dance moms. And then after that, the studio actually ended up changing locations, and now we're in a smaller lobby and stuff. But one of the moms started bringing these different games, and like sometimes it's apples to apples, and sometimes it's I can't remember what it was called, but it was this psychology game. And it was just the funniest thing because we would sit out in the lobby and just die laughing. It was so hysterical. And the receptionist is in the office. She couldn't see us, but she could hear everything that we were saying. And she would every now and again just burst out laughing along with us. And the girls would come out of class and they're like, "What are you guys laughing at? We could hear you clear inside of class. And you guys are so distracting." And it's been wonderful. And on top of that, we've also really gotten to share, us dance moms, have gotten to share some some really difficult times with each other. We've shed tears together over the loss of parents and loved ones. We've cried together. We've laughed together. Some of us pray together or for each other. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a beautiful thing. Because I guess kind of like this community, even though we're such a diverse group of people and we have such different backgrounds and politics and religions and stuff, we share this common interest. And because of that commonality, we can kind of work through anything, because fundamentally we know that we've got some good things in common. And isn't that honestly what it's kind of all about is, fundamentally we're all the same. Like we're just kind of all made of the same stuff, right? We've all got hopes and dreams and fears, and we've all got things in our past that we regret. But when it all comes down to it, I don't know, we're just kind of the same. So anyway, I think that it's neat how our little Dance Moms group kind of epitomizes that. That makes me happy. I have to look and see what is happening here because something has gone horribly wrong and I don't know what. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. See, that makes no sense. How can that possibly be happening? Do you ever do that where you're just like, this, I don't understand? It's counting. It's literally just counting. And I'm a smart person. And I can't count. It's not making sense. Oh, wait. Yes, it does. And then you have the light bulb moment and you go, that's because I'm an idoid. Idiot. That actually comes from my dad. So my dad, let's talk about my dad. I wish I had a picture of him with me, but I don't. So my dad was a great guy. He had a very funny sense of humor, and he was telling me during the whole Nixon investigation and Watergate stuff, my dad walked into a public bathroom, and there on the wall was graffiti that said, "Noxon is an idoid." And Dad thought that was the funniest thing because somebody had been trying to say Nixon is an idiot. And he's not sure if that was a person that was like kind of just wrote that tongue-in-cheek intentionally wrong or if they really misspelled it. But he just thought that was the funniest thing. So every now and again, I call people idoids. That's why. My dad, so his sense of humor was, he was a social studies teacher and a psychology teacher, and at my high school. And then he ended up becoming the department head for the social studies department as well. And but he was a musician through and through. And from the time he was a kid, he was making music and had a band in college called Soul Incorporated. And they won like second place in the Battle of the Bands. I'm not sure. I think it was the state Battle of the Bands. I could be wrong. I don't know. In my mind, he is a rock star. I know that isn't really true, but I like to think that he was. And anyway, he was a big Beatles fan. And So in his office at school, when he became a department head, he shared an office with one of his best buds, who was the department head for the English department. And their office on Dad's side, he had all of these musical posters and like of the Beatles and oh gosh, I can't even like Bob Dylan and probably Jimi Hendrix. I don't even know who all, but he would sign them. He would autograph them himself, and the students 100% of the time thought that they were like really autographed by the real people, even though every single signature looked exactly the same. I don't know what was wrong with my classmates. They were not smart, but it was pretty great. So I think between my brother and I, we've got a couple of those posters still. I even in high school went down to Ashland, Oregon, which has a Shakespearean festival. And because I was in the drama department, we would go down to Ashland every year and watch a few plays. So one year while I was down there, I bought a Shakespeare postcard with, just a little, like it had a little picture of Shakespeare on it. A drawing, of course. And I signed it, Willie Shakespeare, or your friend Bill, or something like that. And people thought that William Shakespeare had signed this card. Like, seriously. Are you kidding? I'm telling you. Maybe those weren't my classmates. Those must have been other classes, not mine. I'm sure my classmates weren't that stupid. I'm not sure at all. I have to be careful what I say, though, right? Because this is like on the interwebs now, and I can't be sure that it won't come back to bite me in the arse. So, my classmates were brilliant. Anyway. So, yeah. So, my dad and his music, let's talk more about that, because I really don't know what to talk about. By the way, I guess if there's like things that you guys would like me to talk about, let me know, because I don't have a clue. And this is a very one-sided conversation. So anyway, I'll just talk more about my dad. He and his music. Goodness sakes, I didn't go in the right hole again. When he became, or like joined the band, the Soul Incorporated band, so he had auditioned, he was going to audition as the drummer, and went in, and the guy ahead of him went in and drummed, and then it was Dad's turn. And so Dad walked in, and the band was like, okay, well, are you here to drum? And he said, yeah, I am, but you guys just found your drummer, meaning the guy ahead of him. And they were like, yeah, we think so too. Can you do anything else? And Dad said, well, I can sing. And so they said, all right, let's hear you sing. And so my dad ended up becoming the lead singer for their band. And so that was pretty cool. And I remember, so I grew up listening to Bob Dylan. I don't know how I got this in my head, but at some point I decided that Bob Dylan probably was my uncle. And I really don't know why I thought that, but I totally did. And I just assumed that we never saw him at family reunions because he was a very busy man. And I was a very strange child. We'll just agree on that note. Anyway, where was I going? I don't know. Oh, I know. I remember when I was in high school, because my dad and I listened to music together quite a lot. And he drove me in to school every day until I got my own car and license. And because it was like a 25-minute drive or whatever. And so he would drive me to school so I didn't have to take the bus. And we'd listen to the golden oldies. This was back when the golden oldies weren't music from the 80s and 90s. That's terrifying to me because that makes me feel very old. It was all music from the 50s and 60s, and which made my dad feel very old. But I remember one day I had gone through their album collection, and in doing so, I came across an album by a singer named Melanie. And I didn't know who this was, but she was beautiful. And I thought, oh, I'll give her a listen. And so I turned on that album. I'm not even sure what album it was, but I turned on that album. And she did the song Ruby Tuesday. You know, the Goodbye, Ruby Tuesday, who could hang a name on you? That song, she did that one. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Brought tears to my eyes. I went downstairs and I was like, Dad, stop everything. You have to listen to this song. It was his album, you guys. Of course, he'd listened to this song a million times. But I don't know why I thought I had discovered it. And he thought that was the funniest thing because he had, back in his college days, when he bought that album, it was because he was the manager of an apartment complex. He and my mom were. And one day he was painting one of the apartments and listening to the radio. And that song played on the radio, and he literally put down his brush and went down to the music store right away and picked up that album because of the Ruby Tuesday song. So I thought it was funny that we had the exact same reaction to the exact same song several years apart from one another. So when I first got pregnant, I had decided, because that was shortly after my dad had died, was when I first got pregnant. And I had decided that I was going to name, if it was a girl, I was going to name her Melanie, kind of in honor of that. But then I ended up miscarrying. So, and I don't know, for some reason in my heart of hearts, I really do feel like that was a little girl. I don't know why, but I just do. Maybe it's just wishful thinking on my part, but anyway, so I like to think that I have a little Lainey in heaven who's no doubt playing with her Papa Page. So it's a good thing. So yeah, I don't mean to be like sad and stuff. But I know I've mentioned my dad in the Christmas video, I think it was, because it was in December when he died. It was December 6th, and which was, of course, shortly before Christmas, but it was also shortly before his birthday, and also shortly before his and my mom's, I think, 30th wedding anniversary. Yeah, 30th. So December has a lot of, had a lot of celebration in it. And now it's always kind of tinged with a little bit of sadness. So that's why the extra sadness at December for me. I was kind of a daddy's girl, I admit it. I just admit it. He and I did a lot of things together. We fished. He taught me how to fish, specifically fly fish. Was really what I was into. I didn't care about the catching of fish, because I remember as a kid catching fish and then having to, because you have to kill them, right? if you're going to keep it, to eat it, and you don't want it to like suffer and just flop. Ugh, I hated it. I did not like fishing for that reason. So then when I discovered fly fishing, I like the art of casting a line because there's skill and artistry in it. And if I never catch anything, that's fine with me. And it turns out I'm not a good fisher person, so I don't catch fish. Yay! It works out really good. But so we would go on fly fishing expeditions together and stuff, and just had a good time with that. And yeah. And he taught me how to tie flies even, which was fun. Whoops. So sometimes, when I stitch in hand, I know that there are some people that like they're very methodical about like always doing, like going the same, like starting their stitches the same way every time. I don't. I mean, my stitches always end up being crossed the same way. But where I enter in, or like how my hand is moving, changes. Which means that sometimes I screw up. It's just the nature of the beast, I guess. But stitching in hand has gone so much faster than stitching with a hoop for me. And I'm very glad that I learned how to do it. Because it really does, it speeds things up. It also, for me, it just makes things feel more portable. Because I know like with Q-snaps and hoops and stuff, I mean, you can take all that with you, but it gets bulkier. And this is literally, I can just put a project into one of my the project bags that my mom made, and I can just go, right? Like I don't have to even think about it. They just fit in my purse so nice. If I'm using a big enough purse, which I think I mentioned, I just changed purses to a smaller one. But even then, I just, I tuck it under my arm and I go. And so when I'm sitting in the parking lot waiting for my daughter after school, I have a stitching project that I can work on. And I don't have to worry about moving the hoop around or remembering to take the hoop off, which I have never been good at remembering to remove hoops. And I never did use a Q-snap. I didn't even know about those until I started watching FlossTube, and I was like, what in the world is a Q-snap? And why are they called a Q-snap? Does anybody know? Why is it a Q-snap? Where's the Q? I don't get it. Just me? I don't think so. So anyway, what else should I talk about? Well, I guess it's been 30 minutes. Maybe this is enough. Actually, here in just a little bit, so that I'll end then. So it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day outside. You can't see it, but you see all that brightness that's over there to my right? That is beauty outside. That's what that is. It's just blue skies, and it's gorgeous. The past few days, it's been really foggy, like strangely foggy. Like the kind of fog that you expect to see like on Halloween. That kind of fog, but for days. So that has been really weird. So it's nice to have the sky back, because it kind of felt like it had been being hijacked for a little while. But unfortunately, I don't get to go out and play in it because I have a to-do list a mile long. It's ridiculous. And I keep thinking it's going to get smaller, and then it just grows by leaps and bounds. I think maybe that's one of the problems with being kind of a creative type, is there's just always so much going on in our brains, right? I had a really hard time sleeping last night because of it. because I'm so aware of all these things I need to be doing. And, and even though I've got them all written down, so it's not even like I could get up and write a to-do list because I have a to-do list written. But I just, like, I'm so worried I'm not going to get things done. And so it stresses me out. And so there was that. And then my husband apparently woke up at 2:30 in the morning, and I'm not sure why. But I woke up at 3, and it was because of the dog. So, and I stayed in bed until like 6:15, and I got a little bit more rest, but not hardly any. And it just, oh my goodness sakes, you guys, it's just not enough sleep. And I have adrenal fatigue, so I have to be careful with like getting enough sleep and really listening to my body, which I'm not so good at doing. But I'm working on it. This is baby steps, right? Everything's baby steps. Can't beat yourself up over everything, so you just got to kind of try to learn and move forward. All right, you guys, I'm done with that piece of thread. I could probably get one more stitch out of it, but I'm not even going to bother trying because it's tight. And this lighting is really hard to stitch in, I have to say. I'm used to having the light shining directly on my stitching, but it was putting such a weird orange glow like everywhere that I couldn't do it. And there is, of course, still an orange glow, but you know. So it's funny because remember, I don't know if you remember, in my like first or second video, I talked about how I like finishing things and having things finished. And then I showed you how we don't have our painting finished. Well, I mean, that's been a little while, and you can see like we still don't have our painting finished at all. That is on the list of things to do this winter, but then it's been a weird winter here in Oregon. I know the East Coast has been hit really hard, and the Midwest and stuff. Y'all, we haven't had a lick of snow here, which is really unusual. If not snow, then we at least get some pretty severe ice, especially because our house is up on a hill, and then our driveway's on a hill. And so there hasn't been a year yet that we've lived at this house where we haven't been iced in, at least for a day. Until this year. I guess it could still happen, but so far it's just been a very, very mild winter. So it's hard, I guess, to get the winter projects done. I don't know. We've just got so much to do that I think we forget. So anyway, this is how much I got done. Just this little portion of the bird up top. Hopefully I'll be able to find this peacock floss. I don't know what I'm going to do if I can't find it, you guys, because that's an old skein. So there's not a chance in the world that I'm going to find the same dye lot ever. Wish me luck. I'll make it work. It'll just be what it'll be. Either way, I'm going to finish this darn piece. I thought it was going to be bigger. It's really quite small. I mean, that's fine. I was going to frame it as my plan, and I was kind of hoping it would turn out a little bit bigger. And of course it would have turned out bigger had I used a different thread count, but I didn't. I think this is 36 or 32 or 36. I don't know which. I don't remember. And I don't even think I wrote it down anywhere. So, oops. Anyway, you guys, I think that's it for me. I'm going to try to do another Stitch with Me, and I'll try to do it the Ginger Gerald way and do the camera over my shoulder. We'll see how that goes. I don't know how to do it so that I'm kind of back a little bit like the way Kitten Stitcher does it. Because I don't have I don't have a good place to sit and stitch except for my desk. So I don't know. Anyway, we'll figure it out. All right, you guys, have an awesome day. If it's sunny where you are, or if it's not, at least bitterly cold, go out, breathe in some fresh air, take in as many sun rays or raindrops as you can, and then just stitch on. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.